Good afternoon. Today is August 11th, and I thank you for joining us for our edition of Nuggets at Noon with Chrissy and Michelle. Now, the nugget I would like to share with you guys today is the concept of exposure. With my background in mental health and in parenting, I noticed that this is a concept that comes up often, so I thought it was fitting to briefly go over it with you now. We're all familiar with the young child who is learning how to speak and somebody exposes them to a new cuss word, and that becomes their word of the day or their word of the month. And that's because as humans, we tend to do a lot of our learning by behavior that is modeled to us, behavior that we are exposed to. We learn how to act, we learn how to react, and we learn how to behave. And so now that we're trying to be more purposeful and more deliberate in our actions, I charge you to change and transition from the time of do as I say and not as I do into being able to model the appropriate behavior and exposing people to what you want them to see so they can in return respond accordingly. This concept of exposure is not a new concept. It is what a lot of our learning and trainings are based in, exposing, repeated exposure. And basically what that is trying to do is trying to connect the neural networks in our brains so that we know how to react and we know how to respond, and it becomes more natural. If you wonder why your kids are behaving a certain way, or if you wonder why your mate is behaving a certain way, sometimes you have to take a step back and wonder, what are you exposing them to? What do they see you doing? How do they see you act? Relationships, our children, all of this is more than just the bare minimum. Parenting is not just about, I provide you shelter, food, and clothes on your back. Being a good mate is so much more than just, I come home every day. We have to be able to do more than the minimum. If you were doing the minimum at work, you wouldn't get any elevation. You would stay there, no promotion, because you're doing the bare minimum. So when you take that same concept and apply it at home, why would you expect doing the bare minimum for your kids, exposing your children to the bare minimum, and think you're going to get elevation in your household? And the reason I bring up children and relationships with your mate alike is just because these are all rooted in relationships. Every concept that I'll discuss with you is rooted in relationships. So they'll work, you'll tweak them for your children, and then you'll tweak them for your spouse, and then you can tweak it for your job relationships as well. So remember, what we expose people to is going to elicit a lot of the change that we want to see from them. If you have a kid that likes to holler, do you holler? If you have a kid that likes to cuss, do you cuss? If you have a mate that does the bare minimum for you, are you doing the bare minimum for them? Remember, as we're taking charge and we're being more purposeful and more deliberate in our actions, we're going to take charge of what we're exposing people to. And once you do that, you'll be able to notice a change in what you see, and you'll be able to elicit the change that you want. So this is definitely a topic that we can pull apart and talk a great deal about, and I will do that at a later time. But for that, I thank you for today. If you have any questions, you can reach me at Chrissia Michelle at nuggetsatnoon.com, or you can email me at nuggetsatnoon@gmail.com. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in 2 weeks.